Leafs are back. Plan the parade. Bolt down your chairs. Tied for first in the Atlantic. That's it. All of that disastrous play that we just saw out of this team since the Four Nations break, basically leading up until Monday's game against, yes, the Calgary Flames, who are not in a playoff spot. They're back. Why would they not be back after a win like this against the Colorado Avalanche? On tonight's show, we'll break down everything that went on with this Leafs team here in game number 68 to the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season against the Colorado Avalanche. The lucky goals. We'll talk about the icings at the end of the game, which people seem to be all sorts of up in arms about here in the chat. People thinking I was going to come on here and yell and scream about the icing attempts. I have a little tidbit to give you guys that was actually presented to me by Nick Alberga. I believe it is a correct stat, or it's an analytics thing I'll kind of lay out there at some point here tonight during the show as well. We'll break it all down. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I want to read your questions, your comments, your super chats, all that kind of stuff. Send them in the chat. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Tonight's show, as always, is presented by Bet365. Proud partner of Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation after dark. Make sure to hit that like button here on the show, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. I want to hear what you guys have to say, where you guys are at. I just want to know the vibe in Toronto, the vibe in Leafland after a win against the Colorado Avalanche. That gets you right back up there because you know what? Look, the way I'm approaching this game tonight, that now ties you with the Florida Panthers with 85 points. It gets you equal with games played, equal on wins, equal on losses, equal on overtime losses. You have the exact same record. You're 5-4-1 in your last 10 here to get you to this point. You're 2 points up on the Lightning. You've now opened up a little bit of a gap here against the Senators. Yes, these are all positives. And if we're just going to go in a vacuum game-by-game basis, this is a really good game. This is a really good win. I'm just going to get it out of the way here now so that when people come back to me later in the show and they're all pissy pants over stuff, I'm just going to say, hey, we said it at the beginning. I got it out of the way and told you all. I'm not back in. Not convinced that this group has success in the playoffs. I need to see it to believe it at this point. 8 years of ups and downs has made me a jaded fan. It's made me not want to believe. I tried so hard all season. I was bought in. The last stretch made me feel like, hey, they're just back to the old guys. So games like tonight don't really flip that opinion for me. But we're here on the post-game show to break things down as a whole. How did it look? How did it feel? What went on for this team out there? What was involved in all of this to lead to this win? So we'll get into all of that here on the show, as well as some super chats, which we've already got here piling up in the chat. So I want to make sure we break all of those down as we go along as well. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. This is the last show that we have before we head on out to Nashville tomorrow morning. I will be up bright and early, 8 a.m. flight with producer Vic. What do you think producer Vic's pre-flight routine is? That's what I'm interested in finding out. What is producer Vic's pre-flight routine? I want to know if this guy's a nervous traveler, if he's just hammering beers, what the case is. We'll find that out tomorrow, and we will recap it in tomorrow's pregame show and tomorrow's postgame show as well. Last show in Toronto for the next couple of days. But we do have some super chats. I want to make sure we get to some of these. Our super chats this season, we do have a charity sponsor, and it is unbelievable. Our super chats, proceeds from our super chats go to Sick Kids Charity. You want to get your question or your comment answered on the show here. You want us to read what's going on. You want me to just talk about what you've got, what you've posted or what you've said, your thoughts, whatever. I'm going to answer all of them. I want to dig into all of those. So proceeds go to Sick Kids Charity. Awesome sponsor here on the post-game show and on the morning show for the boys this season. Let's start here now with our super chats, and then we'll get into some of my thoughts for tonight as well. Okay. I did see there was a super chat right off the beginning. I think it was Tony D'Souza. The message was retracted, but the super chat was there. Just want to acknowledge that anyways. The other super chats that we've got, next one, So Sangnam. We've seen a pattern being outshot overall, but having more high danger chances. Is this likely a problem or strength heading into the playoffs? So, Sangnam, if I'm not wrong, first of all, thank you for the super chat, but if I'm not wrong, I believe that we actually kind of had this conversation not too long ago, where we were talking about getting outshot and if it was a concern and what it meant. I'm not really as concerned as long as the high danger chances you're giving up aren't that bad. So the one thing that was kind of left out of the super chat there was like, what are the high danger chances you're giving up? Because you're talking about the fact that they're getting a lot of high danger chances. This is a game tonight where the Leafs generate 5.42 expected goals, 3.6 goals against were expected here tonight for Colorado. Expected goals are not everything, but they do tell a little bit of the story. The deserve to win a meter on this one ends up finishing 61.8% in Colorado's favor. So, I mean, I just wanted to get that out because I know that I'm going to be asked about that one by Mario Kart at some point, and we can all say, hey, Mario Kart, Zack did it. Zack talked about it. It got brought up. Deserve to win a meter, 38.2%. This is courtesy of Money Puck here. 61.8% for the Colorado Avalanche. Look, one thing that I'm going to kind of dig into with this is an answer So Sangnam's question is I don't really know, which is a shitty way to answer a question, but it's the way I'm going to answer this one right now, and I'll elaborate. You were outshot 39-26. The chances generated by Colorado over an extended period of time through a 7-game series, if you do that every night, no, this does not lead you to, oh, wow, you're going to win in the long run. Oh, wow, this is a recipe for success. In fact, in my opinion, it's quite the opposite. Going to these chances generated, the shots on goal that you're giving up to the Avs, I thought you were much better defensively here tonight, but you still gave up a decent amount, just total. The Avs still did generate a couple of high danger chances that happen here. It's not like there was just none. They did get a bunch of expected goals, and that's not everything. Obviously, you outweighed that on the other end. The big thing, and what I'm going to kind of go to here on this, because I don't actually fully know how to answer this, is Joseph Woll was unbelievable. Credit to Vic for saying he wanted to start him here tonight. I heard Nick and Rosie talking about the idea of starting him here, giving him another go. Berube talked about the last 2 times that he got in net. He liked the way Joseph Woll played, so he gets to go here again. I think it also sparks up a little bit of a battle in the net between Stolarz and Woll. Maybe it makes Stolarz go in tomorrow against New York, and he looks around and says, hey, I've got to elevate my play because Woll just did, and if I don't catch up here, he runs away with the number 1 spot, and you don't want to be left in the dust in that one. You don't want to go in there and play okay, just okay. You want to be competing for the net every night. Like, that's what these guys are here to do. That's the way that Anthony Stolarz has played all season. So going to Joseph Woll was great. Joseph Woll played out of his mind. There was numerous times where he made unbelievable saves, massive moments, more so than highlight reel. Quality over quantity. Like, okay, the highlight reel, that gets put on the package and it gets played tomorrow. There were some of those here tonight. But those were combined with, like, just taking a lead, odd man rush, late in a third period situation. Brock Nelson walking down the middle, opening up the gates to heaven so that Nelson could walk in 1v1 against Joseph Woll, gets a shot off, and Woll comes up clutch. Like, he was out of his mind here tonight. 38 saves for the brick wall, competing for his spot to be the starter in the playoffs. And you could see it. There was battle. He looked calm. He looked poised. He gave this team a ton of confidence behind him. Joseph Woll was out of his mind. Now, what I will say in terms of what So Sangnam was asking there as well, to kind of tie this up and put a bow on it, is like, no, doing this 7 games in a row is not, in a 7-game series, maybe I should say is a better way to put it, it's not a recipe for success. I would actually be more inclined to say that long term, it means you're probably going to lose more often than not. Now, the Leafs did generate quality chances. More so my point being, like, the Avalanche still got a lot on their own. You look at 5+ expected goals versus 3+ expected goals, and the final score is 2-1 here tonight. Both goaltenders were unbelievable. Both goaltenders played out of their minds. I would not want to rely on this in the playoffs. You don't want to wear your goalies out. And at some point, you could just have a complete blow-up game, and it just doesn't happen. The other thing is, we know with this Leafs team in particular, how often is it that they generate 5 expected goals and they lose this game 2-1 or 3-1 or 3-2, whatever. But they're the ones who aren't able to kind of generate or capitalize on the chances generated. So it's awesome to see Joseph Woll do that. And if he does that in the playoffs, good God, you're going to be set up into a much better position than you've been in years past when it's like Ilya Samsonov in there. In a game like this, you would have been cooked. He might have let in 5 on 3 expected goals. Let's just call it what it is. Not Joseph Woll. Doesn't allow that to be the case. No, I don't want to see this every night, So Sangnam. But hey, to generate more than they did in terms of high danger opportunities, it's a positive sign to have those, especially in a tighter lockdown game. Another super chat. Maxentius Decimus. I've been so hard on Domi and Robertson, but I have to concede that the third line with McMahon, which would include Domi and Robertson there as well, have looked like a playoff line. And the reply to this is So Sangnam, who also says, 100%, this is the third line I've been saying all year is their best combo. Yeah, again, like, and I think this goes for everybody on this Leafs team from top to bottom, is it's consistency. Can you do this night in, night out? And, I mean, you don't need your third line to score every single night. Like, it's just not reality. You don't need that. You're not going to get that. It's not expected of them. And if you are expecting them to do that, well, you're going to be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, because that's not really what they're paid to do. I mean, that's what Carter Hutton had talked about. Like, that's what he was saying. When you get these guys who are paid that level because of the top guys being paid where they're at, you're just not going to get the same level of production. And if they produce at a $2 million value, then, like, what are we looking around at? Why are we going to complain there? You end up in a better spot. Like, if you can get some guys who are maybe a bit better value, or if some of these guys can score goals and make it a little bit more consistent. But they've played really well. They have played really well. And you got to give them credit, because the way that they're playing right now is hard on the forecheck, using their speed, getting in deep on pucks, winning battles. They are making it difficult for opposing teams' defense. There were numerous times where I looked out there and it was like, it was your third line who entered the zone, gained the zone, was able to maintain possession, got a whistle to get another line out there, was able to get the other team to ice the puck, or was able to have the Leafs change and put out a first or a second line while they were out there in the offensive zone. That's what you like out of these guys. Like, That's a good third line shift where if you can win those minutes, win those battles, and spend more time in the offensive zone than you do in the defensive zone, you're going to be in a much better position with your third line generating like that and playing the way that they did. Like, they weren't dominant here tonight, but I thought they looked pretty good. I thought that they looked pretty good in their matchups that they had. I thought they looked fast. I thought they kind of just did the little things. It wasn't like every time we were out there, we were looking around going, holy shit, these guys are giving up chance after chance after chance. Like, it was a pretty good night from the third line. That has continued off of a couple of games here now where they've been playing that way. They have looked dangerous. They have gotten down and put together a good cycle game. Like, they're not just playing a typical traditional, just small skill guy third line that we used to see Kyle Dubas build here, where they were just skill, they had no physicality, they had no edge, they had no bite to them. I think a lot of that is Bobby McMahon dragging you in and being able to dominate that type of game. I think a lot of it is Max Domi wanting to play that type of game, and then I think part of it is Nick Robertson looking at the other two guys and being like, well, fuck, if those guys are going to play that way, I probably got to. If those guys are going to jump in and finish checks and are going to be tough in the defensive zone, I'm going to have to as well. Now you're getting that kind of buy-in from all of them. Nick Robertson also gets a little bit of a pee-pee whack from Berube every now and then, who says, actually, you can go sit in the press box, and he saunters upstairs and comes back down after a while and goes, well, fuck, I got to put my boots to the ground and get going. And he comes back and he's like shot out of a cannon every time. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought that line was good as well. So I think that that's a fair point there. From Maxentius Decimus, thank you. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way. I don't know if Avs fans come here and watch this, or if Avs fans are going to see this after the fact, whatever. You got to be good. What's the saying? You got to be good to be lucky. You got to be lucky to be good. That's Steven Lorenz goal. It's a great shot. It's great hustle. I thought that the PK was pretty good to lead up to that. The clearing by Simone Benoit that gets broken up by a falling/diving referee in Kelly Sutherland, who stops the puck for Steven Lorenz to come through, pick up. The Leafs go on a 2-on-1 shorthanded, and he rips far side top corner. Like, that's just undeniably lucky. It is an extremely lucky goal for that to happen. Or extremely lucky play to lead to that goal. In a one-goal game where you've both scored on the power play, take it. That is an awful bounce for the Avalanche and Avs fans. I think there's 0% chance that Kelly Sutherland dove to stop that puck. Let's get that out of the way. 0% chance that he dove to stop the puck. So I do not want to hear anything about that and about, the Leafs always get it. Sutherland was trying to help the team out. Sutherland was trying to help the Leafs win the game. Do not give me that. Do not give me that. But unbelievably lucky. You take that bounce. You take that bounce and you run with it. We got another super chat here. I want to get into this one especially here because I mean, I saw a lot when I got onto the show here tonight. People losing their minds about the empty net. People were freaking out. So Sangnam here says, Berube needs to run an empty net only practice. So, so here's what I'll say. I believe that there is some type of analytics that go into... I'm not going to talk about, like, these guys missing the net. Like, yeah, you're firing... I think it was 3 separate times that they fired on the empty net and missed. But I believe that there is, like, some type of analytics to support that it's better in those situations to just shoot it and go for it and just have to deal with the face-off. I think that there is something supporting that because the chance of you hitting the net and the expected opportunity versus the expected opportunities that come back the other way. It's like one of those analytics things of, like, do you go for the 2 points? Do you go for it on 4th down? It's like one of those things. I believe that it is one of those situations which people can make what they want of it, but I believe that there's just, like, you're supposed to just shoot at it now. If you get the chance, even if it misses the net, it's like a better thing to do to just shoot it and try and have a miss. Because if you have an opening or an open ice and you can get the shot off, I believe you're just supposed to shoot it. I could be wrong, and if somebody who does analytics and is smarter with numbers than I am can prove me wrong on that or whatever, let me know. But yeah, and Vic also pointing out they were fresh. Like, I believe that after the 3rd try, they had still only been out there for, like, a minute. It was, like, just over a minute. And at that point, even if they didn't ice the puck, I don't think those guys are coming off anyways. Like, it's your first line. It's McCabe and Tanev, and you're going up 1v1 against the Avs. It gives you the bit of a break. It gives you a bit of a rest. If you score, it's game over. If you don't, you get to take that period of time where the ref gets the puck and comes back down. Like, you get that 10, 15 second breather, whatever it is between whistles there anyways. You're fresh. Like, I don't think it's I think it's one of those things that you're just supposed to do. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it's kind of funny to watch people come here and just lose their minds over it. Yes, I would like to see them hit the net more. I would, but whatever. You won. Like, the only time that it actually reminds me is, like, remember the World Juniors when the Russians iced the puck and then Jordan Eberle scores with 5.3 seconds left? One of the funniest lines of all time. I love it so much. Gord Miller yells after Eberle scores, "Can you believe it?" There's like a 2-second pause. Pierre says, "I can, Gord. When the Russians ice the puck." To this day, it makes me laugh. But yeah, and that's like the one time that I've seen it just be one of the worst moments ever, or worst results ever that ends up happening. Yeah, maybe you got to work on that in practice. You got to, like, ice the puck or try to ice the puck, or if you miss, then you've got to bag skate or whatever. But maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know. Anyways, I want to get to one of my favorite segments here on the show. We've got a caller waiting to call in here. I'm pumped for it. I have not talked to him in a little while, so it'll be good to get a catch up from him and see how he's doing. I've not heard from him actually since I believe it was before I went absolutely nuclear on the team and we had this massive down spell, and I think Vic and I declared the season over. So, with that, we're going to get to one of our favorite segments here on the show. It's something you guys all love, something you guys have all been waiting for a while here as well. It's one of the most highly demanded segments on the program.
Okay, are you ready? Let's go! Don't change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Everything nice.
Have a little class.
and do it right. I gotta say the way I feel.
That's right.
Buttercup, this is serious stuff. I love the people. You ready? Go. I don't get enough show. I love the people. How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing?
Lovely to look at, to say.
Love the hat. A wise guy, eh?
You look good, really. You look good.
Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Doing that one for the old grapes. Go down blazing.
The man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the program, Gord, all the way from Japan. Ohio Gozaimasu. Welcome to Gord's Corner.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio Gozaimasu. That's it. I say it wrong, I think, every time. What's up, Gord?
Wow.
How's it going?
It's going really well. How you doing? How's it going, chat? Yeah, it's been a while, eh? I think last time was just after the Four Nations Cup, or just before, maybe just after the Four Nations Cup. Yeah. But yeah, I'm always on here watching, and if I can't see you live, I'll definitely go back and watch the show. So lots of good segments. I try to pull back and not get too involved when you go on your Marner rants, because I'm probably Marner's biggest fan through all these years. So yeah, I try to hold back on that. But yeah, I get the frustration. But anyway. Anyway, yeah.
Well, how are you
Nice
feeling here, Gord? We get 2 wins this week. I don't know exactly where you were at after the losses to the Sens and the Panthers there, but I mean, it kind of felt like we just hit a point as a fan base where it was like we're destined for the same result in the playoffs, because that game on Thursday, that game on Ottawa, that's just who they are and what they've been every year. He got to the playoffs, and it felt like a lot of us, I mean, I know I did, I know producer Vic did, we waved the white flag here on the show. We kind of at that point got there and just said, I don't know where we go from here. I don't know how we get ourselves into a playoffs, into like a playoff series and walk out the other side victorious. Now, you follow this up with the win on Monday against Calgary, a great win there as well. Another win here tonight against Colorado, which was a tight, tough win. You get excellent goaltending. Austin Matthews gets on the board. Your power play scores, your penalty kill scores. Matthews looked like he was back to himself. Just take me through the roller coaster of emotions you've been feeling here, Gord, over the last couple of weeks, where you're currently at right now as a Leafs fan.
Yeah, I'm sure along with everyone else, I get pretty frustrated when they go through a stretch like they went. And, and like the diehards like myself, I tend to end up making excuses and rationalizations, and, they're exhausted, the schedule, blah, 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 blah. First game back from a long road trip, all of those things that tend to, end up in subpar games. I'm rationalizing all this as I'm watching the games. I would say probably at least 1/3 of those games, I turned the game off by the time, I can see when the Leafs are in that kind of funk, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to torture myself by going through the third period and watching this. If the Leafs win, I'll go back and play the game on replay or whatever. But yeah, it was a frustrating stretch, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I think Leaf fans need to just take a step back a little and breathe, right? I mean, this is what I do as a fan. They just need to take a step back and breathe a little. There's 2 teams that have been dominating the league, Winnipeg and Washington. Yep. 2 out of 32. Every other team is exactly like the Leafs. Dallas, which I think everyone would agree is a good hockey team. Colorado, which I think everyone would agree is a good hockey team, an excellent hockey team. All of these teams are the exact same as the Leafs. The difference being, all these people in the chat, you and me, we're not watching those teams with our emotions, with our heart on the sleeves, watching every single little turnover, every little single gaff. We're watching the Leafs do it, so we're isolating on them. This NHL is notable. It's remarkable for its parity. All the teams are good. You got a
Yeah.
couple of teams that are setting themselves apart from the rest. The Leafs are right in there with the Dallases, with the Colorados, with everybody else, with Florida. All you have to do is go look at the standings, go look at the loss columns. They're all right in there. So
Well, Gord,
yeah,
the only thing I'll jump in on, and I'll push back on before you continue. The only thing I'll push back on is, I think the difference here though is that the Dallas Stars win playoff series, and the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche, the Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they've got Vegas Golden Knights. Yes, you're right in terms of this season, and I agree with that, and I think that that's a fair point where it's ups and downs. And you look at this win here tonight, like they're tied with the Florida Panthers again. You know, one game, bang, 2 games, you're right back in there. You're in that thing. The race in the East, the race in the West right now, the shuffling of teams, it's nuts. But the difference is, and where I would say Leafs fans are very much justified, and kind of why I feel the way that I do when this happens, is because the way they lost is what happens year after year. It's the history of the team, and I know you can't just look at a team one year to the next and say it's a carbon copy, but what you can look at is the core, and they are the exact same. And when you look at Thursday's loss, Saturday's loss, and kind of the way things have been going leading up to those 2 losses, that was the only problem that leads to like the ultimate boiling point on Saturday that I think Leafs fans, they end up just going over the edge when that happens, because we've been watching this for 8 years. I don't think it's been the same for Dallas. I don't think it's been the same for Colorado, Florida, Tampa, etc. So that's my pushback on that. I do agree with what you're saying about this season, though, and I'll let you continue on it.
Yeah, I understand, and trust me, I'm right there with you because I'm a diehard Leaf fan. So I've been through it all. I've been through it all since 1967. So I know exactly where everyone's coming from, and I feel the same way. So what makes this team any different than the other teams that fell short in the playoffs? So we look at the team and, okay, so what they're not getting in the inside, that's playoff hockey. They're not winning those battles down low, that's playoff hockey. They're getting dominated in front of the net. But they're not getting dominated in front of the net like before. So that's something that I think is different. I think the goaltending is a little bit better. I think look at tonight. I thought Carlo has come around. He had a tough game the first time around with Colorado, but he's settled down and he's looking solid. So McCabe played a solid. Tanev. So you got Tanev, McCabe, and Carlo, like 3 guys who are playing solid, stout D, boxing out. They had a really heck of a game tonight. I mean, Colorado, they maybe dominated in shots or whatever, but they didn't get inside. They didn't sustain a forecheck. There was a lot of peripheral stuff. There was no real sustained forecheck. There was none of that, a lot of cycling on and on with lots of chances. That got shut down, that to me is promising for the playoffs. Another thing that I noticed tonight, they had a 1-goal lead for the first time in like forever. They didn't sag to the middle and let the team run around on the outside and look for that shot. They were far more aggressive with that 1-goal lead tonight, even down with the goalie pulls. And the thing with the block, and the thing with I'm not so hot on the shooting for the empty net on the with the possible icing, but the Leafs were just dominating the dot tonight. They were dominating the first faceoff. So I think it was, did Nielsen win 1 faceoff all night or something? And it's like they were dominating. So I didn't mind them taking a shot. I didn't mind them taking a shot at the open net the way they were dominating the dot tonight. So that didn't bother me so much. I'm old school too. Like, you don't pass the puck in front of the net. You don't ice the puck when the other team's got the empty net. All of those things are old school stuff, but all the teams bump the puck right into the center of the slot in front of their own net these days. I mean, hockey's different now than it was in the 1960s and 70s when I grew up. So, I have to kind of bite my tongue and kind of, accept the fact that guys are going to shoot for empty nets now. But I don't mind it so much when they're winning the face-off consistently like they did tonight.
Gord, I got a question for you here, and part of it pertains to one of the new additions for the Maple Leafs here at the deadline. You talked about Carlo. I think he's been unbelievable. The first couple games that he played in, he kind of looked like he was warming himself up to the guys, to his new D partner, to the system, however you may want to say it. But the more we're walking away from these games, it feels like you don't notice him. And I say that in the best way possible for a guy who finishes the night for this Leafs team, just kind of checking on it, but finishes with 16 minutes and 8 seconds of time on ice. He does end up taking a penalty there, which takes away some of the penalty killing time that he would have normally played, but I thought he's been really good. The other guy would be Scott Laughton. Scott Laughton, for me, has underwhelmed since joining the Maple Leafs. There's been a couple of games where he's just been... I mean, I don't want to harp on the guy. I feel like he's kind of just slipped away into the game at times, which I think you're looking around at, and going, wow, we've traded first-round picks, and you traded Grebenkin for this, and yet we're still here, and we're still looking at a guy who's now down to your fourth line and had to be changed up after partway through the second period here tonight, where the chances against, by the way, were 10-0 for Colorado when the fourth line was on the ice. 10-0 is not something to scoff at. It was a staggering number for these guys. They end up moving Pontus Holmberg down to the fourth line. They move Calle Yarncroke up to the second line. I mean, they've been moving Laughton up and down the lineup here so far. What do you make of the fourth line, the composition of the fourth line, and on top of that, what do you make of Scott Laughton since he's joined this team?
Yeah, I think I prefer Camp down on the fourth line because I like Camp. He's heavier. He's much heavier than Laughton. Like Laughton is just another. I know he's scrappy and he plays tough, but he's not that heavy. He can't push guys off the pucks on the wall as well as Camp does. Like Camp, of course, he can't shoot and he can't pass, but he's good at defense. And you need those specialists. So I look to see Camp back in centering that fourth line, and probably Laughton maybe replacing Robertson on the wing on the third line with Domi on centering that line. Probably, I think that's what's going to end up happening. Camp is crucial for penalty killing. He's good in the face-off dot. He's good on heavy down low. He's defense first minded. So I think you'll see Camp back into the line. I think you'll see Camp back into the lineup, and probably Robertson out of the lineup and Laughton pushed onto the wing, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, he's been underwhelming so far. It's really hard to get a read on him. He just seems like he's really out of sync, and he's trying to get his feet under him and not quite used to the Leaf system or whatever. But yeah, I'm the same way with you. He's been underwhelming, and maybe. Who knows what Grebenkin is? I don't know what that guy is, but I don't like giving up a first for the guy. That's for sure.
The thing is, you get some term, you got retention on the contract there as well. A lot of people in the chat here pointing out, which I would probably tend to lean towards a little bit more, and I think Nick has made the joke, like, the guy's not going to score a goal until you get to the playoffs, and then he's going to all of a sudden score some massive ones. It feels like that's just the path we're heading down, which I hope is the path we're heading down, just given you don't want another Nick Foligno situation. I don't know. It's interesting because Pontus Holmberg has basically completely flipped the entire way I viewed this guy here right now. Throughout the beginning of the season for basically 40, 50 games, I was looking at him and going, you got to get rid of this guy. He's just an extra body out there. He's eating up a roster spot, some cap space, all that kind of stuff. Like he's just taking it all away. And then basically since just before the Four Nations, and he started to pick up and returning from the Four Nations, he's been amazing, and he's kind of just completely eliminated the need for David Kampf to be in this lineup for me. Like, he's just completely taken that out. I think, I don't think it's as necessary to have David Kampf. It's kind of a different story now because you've gotten past the trade deadline. So talking about who you have and who you don't have or whatever, who could be on their way out, it's different. You've got David Kampf sitting there. So if he can play, he can play. You're still looking at Max Pacioretty, who at some point could be coming back. But, our guy Pontus, he's looked a lot better and kind of just changed that mindset. I don't know. Scott Laughton's interesting for me because, again, here tonight, another game where it's like you would like your depth to kind of step up. And again, I'm not talking about for these guys to go out there and score goals every night. There's a reason they're fourth liners and third liners. Like, that's who they are. If they scored every night, they would be on the first line and they would make $13.5 million and they would be named Austin Matthews. Like, that's just not the reality. But you would like them to win their minutes. You'd like them to win your matchups. And seeing Scott Laughton out there tonight and his fourth line with him, Lorentz, and Calle Yarncroke getting their teeth kicked in 10-0 on the scoring chances, it's a disappointing sight, that's for sure. I'll leave it at that on the fourth line, Gord.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. But I feel comfortable having a guy like Kampf as the 13th guy, knowing that I can insert a guy who's pretty reliable in terms of his defensive play. Like I said, heavy down low, heavy in front of the net, good on the face-off. He's a solid, good fourth line center, I think. A guy who can win face-offs, but kill penalties. The only thing is his salary, right? He makes more than he should. That's the only beef against. He can't shoot and he can't pass, but that's why he's a fourth liner, right? So, but the only thing with him is Kampf is his contract. He gets too much money, and that's about all. And that's why I think he gets a little bit of more criticism than I think he deserves. For a fourth liner, we pay way too much attention for a guy like David Kampf, fourth line centers, really, to be honest with you.
Last thing I'll do on this one, because we have a super chat here on it, Gordon. I want to make sure we get to the super chats, and I think it'll be fair if you answer this, because we can both throw some opinions out on it, but it is relative to what we're talking about right now. So let's play the super chat animation. Mike Fami with the super chat. Mike, thank you for that. Mike says, am I the only one who's pissed that we gave up Grebenkin and a first for Laughton for him to be deployed on the fourth line? So, two parts to this, I guess, Gord. Are you mad about what you traded for the guy? And I guess kind of tied together and can also be a separate conversation. Do you think Laughton should just be deployed somewhere else in the lineup and not on your fourth line as your 4C?
Yeah, like I said, I think you're going to end up seeing him replacing Robertson on the wing on that third line. I think you're going to see him on the third line with probably Domi centering that third line. I'm not thrilled about that line in terms of it's too light. Like, even though Laughton, he's pesky, he's gritty, he's still light. At least I haven't seen him bounce anybody off a puck. And the same thing with Domi. Like, Domi's the tough, gritty guy, but he's light. So I don't like too many light guys for playoff hockey. That bothers me. That concerns me.
And I'll say this. I'll say this on the on where he's playing in the lineup. Jeff Merrick pointed this out to me. Yeah, Laughton, sorry. Jeff pointed this out to me with players, and I can't remember the exact player that it was that he had said who it was, but he's saying, like, if I'm your fourth line center, you could win a Stanley Cup. If I'm your second line center, like, you're screwed. If Scott Laughton is your fourth line center, you're in a much better position. And we'll see how it goes, but part of the reason that he's down to your fourth line is, first of all, Austin Matthews is your first line center. Second of all, John Tavares is your second line center. Third, Max Domi has been very good over the last few games. So Scott Laughton's just not going to take his spot on that because you're finding chemistry between him, McMahon, and Robertson. If it needs to be changed up, if you're looking at this lineup and saying, where do we need to go from here? I mean, that's a spot you can move guys around, but right now, they've been really good. Laughton in that spot, I think, will be fine in the long run and helps you out tremendously with like depth and matching up against other teams. That's the other thing. I think when you get into the playoffs, you look at a series against Tampa or Florida, and you're watching your third and fourth lines go against each other. If Scott Laughton's in your fourth line center position, I think you're going to end up in a better spot. I mean, it didn't go so well for them here tonight against Colorado. Things had to get shaken up, but long term, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll settle in. I think it'll work out for the better. Gord, last thing I want to ask you, I don't want to go like way too long here on the stream tonight. We have a really early morning here for the boys at the Leafs Nation. We're getting up. We've got an 8 a.m. flight. I know producer Vic is buzzing around in the chat there. He's probably packing as we speak. But Gord, was there anything else that you've got here tonight that you were like, I need to get that off my chest. I really like this. I really dislike that. Was there any final thoughts for you on tonight's game that just really stood out or bothered you or whatever it may be?
I liked just a couple of things that I noted. There's a few things that impressed me with tonight's game. It looked like a bit of a slog, but I like the way that the Leafs forwards were really making a commitment to backtracking. So they were picking up, like I said, the Colorado didn't have a lot of sustained effort, and part of that was the forwards were really working hard, coming back, picking up trailers, that forcing Colorado to keep the puck outside, not giving them to the middle. Maybe low event hockey for them, which is why maybe their shots were down, but they're defense first minded. So they're getting more in that playoff when they were winning hockey games and people were kind of bored with those, low event games and they're winning 3-2 and 2-1 and their goalies were keeping them in it. I mean, that's what they reverted back to tonight, but that seems to work for this particular club. And keep in mind, like going back to the playoffs, failures over the past years, keep in mind that those failures we had, Travis Dermott coughing up pucks in the Detroit game, Brody getting walked by Jake Paul, and Brody coughing up another puck in the big. My favorite, Justin Hall, giving up. Now we don't have, instead of Justin Hall and Brody and Dermott and all of these guys who are barely NHLers, we've got some solid D this time around to help augment our forwards who get all the brunt of playoff failure criticism. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
where you're getting 1 goal games in Game 7 against Florida's and Boston's, with the defense of Travis Dermott and Brody and Hall. And if you look at our D now, there's nobody who's going to say that our D is worse than those playoff failure years. So that alone gives me more confidence going into this playoff. That and the goaltending. No Freddie Anderson shot from the first row of the seats off of the boards over his shoulder against Washington, or no Gallagher muffin from just inside the blue line between the legs in a Game 7 against Campbell. Like, those things hopefully are going to be reduced with the goaltending now and the defense we got now. So I like our chances better in the playoffs simply because of the goaltending and the defense has been upgraded. So that's we still have, I agree that we still have some problems with lightness and not scoring in big games, and the big boys that got to come through. All of that stuff is true, no doubt about it. But I think when you're looking back at all those Game 7s with 1 goal, would you rather have the Leafs defense now or as it was during those losses? So I'm a little bit more confident going into the playoffs with their goaltending and our defense being upgraded.
Look, I would agree with you. And I think that when you break down the pairings and your depth that you have and like OEL being on your third pairing, playing with Simon Benoit, like that's the best third pairing that you've gone into the playoffs with in the Matthews era here. The other thing, look at Tanev here tonight. Look at the way that he matched up with Nathan MacKinnon, kind of the how well he mitigated, potential disaster with a guy like that, a superstar like that on the other end, and a guy who kind of just take over at any given moment. I thought he was really, really good. I thought that he was really strong. Gord, the other thing that I would kind of just say, though, is like, I agree with everything you said. I agree with the defense. I agree with the coach, the goaltending, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's still, for me, is going to come down to how the big boys play. If they don't show up, I think you're fucked. Like, I just think that that's the reality. They got to score. They've got to be the best players on the ice. You can't make that much money and mix into the crowd. It's not acceptable when it comes to the playoffs. So time will tell. I'm not really fully bought in, and part of it is because I'm not fully bought in on Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner when it matters the most. I look at William Nylander. I've got faith in him. I've got some faith in Johnny T here now. He's not a takeover guy, but at least showing up. It's Matthews and Marner. Do they show up? If they don't, you might as well just call it quits and go to the summer and try again. I agree with everything else you've said, though, about the way the team is constructed.
If they don't, I'm probably going to have to avoid this channel for about a week.
Maybe. Between myself, Rosie, and Nick, it might be, catastrophic blow it up territory. So
it's going to be nuclear, man. It's going to be nuclear, especially if it's going to be exactly the same way we lose again with the big three not doing anything at all.
Which if they lose, it would be the same. If they lose, it would be the same. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because if you're right, you're absolutely right. So it depends on them. There's no question. I can't disagree with that. That yes, our goaltending's better. Yes, our defense far better. However, in order to win, the big boys have got to show up. That's definitely number one on the agenda. The big boys have got to show up, and if they don't. And I know everyone's in the chat. I'm not even looking at the chat because I'm looking at the screen where I'm just talking to you. But I'm sure everyone's going to say, why would they show up now after 8 years and they haven't, blah, blah, blah. And that's fair. That's fair criticism. I mean, they've earned that criticism. So I can't back them on that. I can't, support them on that. So they got to come through. But just as an objective fan or semi-objective fan, I like the chances better with the goaltending and the D now than it has been in the past few years. That's all I can say. And yes, the big boys have got to step up, and the bottom six has got to contribute just a little bit more.
I think that's fair. Gord, thank you for calling in here tonight. I appreciate you as always. It's the morning time where you are, so enjoy the rest of your day. By the time you go to bed tomorrow night, I believe I will be landing in Nashville. So we'll be kind of moving around different parts of the world here. But Gord, thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate the insight as always. Let's not make it so long until we hear from you next, eh?
Great. Thanks for having me. I was hoping to get one of those tickets from Tokyo to Nashville in that draw. I was really hoping for. I would have loved to walk in the door and see you guys surprise faces, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. But have a safe trip and enjoy yourself.
Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it. There you go. There he is.
Go Leafs, go.
Gordon Graham, go Leafs, go. Hopping on here. Gord's Corner. You guys see him in the chat all the time, buzzing around, giving us insight, how he feels, what he thinks about the team, all of that kind of stuff. Thank you to Gord for jumping on from Japan. Awesome stuff. I want to make sure here we can get to a bunch of our segments here before we move on tonight. So let's get to, you know what? Let's get to our best bet, because I want to talk some positives, and unfortunately our best bet, not necessarily a positive here, but we'll make it work. So our best bet segment. Breaking news from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION, all caps, to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. So, as I said, unfortunately here tonight, it does not quite go our way, but I mean, we took a swing. We took a swing on this one. We went with the Max Domi plus 450. We went with a fifth of a unit, $20. It was to profit 95. We were up 7.08 units going into this one here tonight. So with that loss, we are now up 6.88 units. We lose $20. Obviously, would have much preferred to win it and walk away with $95 profit and continue to boost that as we get closer and closer to the playoffs and have a bigger bankroll to play with and walk away with this massive profit at the end of the season. It was $708 profit to this point. It was 7.08 units. It doesn't matter about the record because we're hitting bigger plus money. They're coming in. We're managing our bankroll. We're figuring it all out. We were up $708. The Max Domi anytime goal does not cash, but I'm not overly frustrated with the bet that we made. Obviously, you know what? In hindsight, in a situation like this, I probably would like it to be a little bit higher odds, especially given how tough it is to play against the Colorado Avalanche and how tough it is down the lineup when you match up that way. But I thought that the third line played pretty well. Max does not walk away with like a bunch of expected goals or anything like that, but he does look pretty decent. I thought that he carried the puck well in transition. I thought that their line was pretty good at maintaining offensive zone possession and zone time. So, that was our best bet, and unfortunately, it loses. But regardless, we'll be back. We'll keep pushing. We'll try to get ourselves another win here in the coming days. So. Is what it is. I mean, I wish that it won. It just, not every night can you win. We did hit 50 likes here. We are almost at 100 here as well. Just a quick note, by the way, we're going to do 2 post-game shows, Thursday night and Saturday night in Nashville. We're coming from Toronto to Nashville. I'm not bringing the smelling salts across the border. I don't think that that's the smartest decision that we could be making. I don't think that's the wisest move. But I'll make up for any and all of the smelling salts when we get back from this trip, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to forget about it. I'll write down how many likes there are on the stream, how many of you guys are in here getting mad at me about where's the salts. But for now and for this weekend, not going to do them. So get your likes in now if you want to see me do the smelling salts. I'll do the first ones here because we did hit 50 likes. Thank you for liking, subscribing. If you haven't already done so, please do so now. Whoa. There you go. That'll do it. That'll get you going. Okay. Other things that I wanted to touch on here tonight before we close things up and wrap up the show, because I do want to kind of tidy up here and get ourselves out of here so that I can post the podcast, which, by the way, if you missed the live show and you don't come back to watch, you can listen on all podcasting platforms. That goes for you. That goes for your friends. If you know people who just don't have time to watch live at night or watch it back in the morning, you can listen on all podcasting platforms. So the Leafs Nation After Dark, make sure to head on over to your podcasting platform, subscribe. I want to get those numbers up on the podcast. You know, our YouTube numbers are great. You guys in the chat, viewing live, viewing after the fact, you guys are awesome. You guys always show up for me. I want to get those podcasts on, and I want to get your auto downloads, because if you go there, it does help support me. It helps continue to grow this, whether it's the live shows or if it is on the podcasting apps. So make sure to do that as well. But head on over there. I do want to make sure you guys are supporting the show and continuing to do so on the other platforms, other areas that you can consume this content. And again, thank you all for the support. I do greatly appreciate it and appreciate you guys showing up here constantly. So a couple things I wanted to touch on that we kind of have here tonight, but just doing a brief recap and overview before I move on with some stuff. I thought William Nylander was pretty dangerous tonight. I saw someone earlier on say, like, oh, Nylander wasn't good. I thought he was. I thought he had some great opportunities. I thought he was great in transition. He was showing some awesome bursts of speed, especially late in the third period there. Watching Willie in that third line, like, they were spending most of their time down in the offensive zone, which when you are defending a lead, you're up by 1 goal, Like, you don't want to take your foot off the gas. You want to go, 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 go. And that third line spent a lot of time in the offensive zone. They spent a lot of time down below the other team's goal line and creating chances out front and finding ways to win physical battles and just continuing to excel along the boards, excel down below the goal line, like between Tavares and Nylander, McMahon when he got out there for a couple of opportunities, even Cale Yarncroke in some of those positions. I thought they looked pretty good here. And late in the game, when you're trying to close this thing out, rather than spending it in their own zone, praying for their lives, they spent it down in Colorado's zone more often than not. So I thought they looked good. Joseph Woll was amazing. The one big thing here, one of my main takeaways, Austin Matthews looks like himself. He looked a lot more like himself here tonight. He was creating chances. He was dangerous. Yet again, he leads the Maple Leafs, or he's top of the charts for the Maple Leafs here. Matthew Knies actually leads the Maple Leafs in expected goals. Austin Matthews finishes just below him there in second. JT coming in below that. Jake McCabe actually sneakily just behind John Tavares there. But Austin Matthews looked dangerous again. He's creating chances. He's getting to the front of the net. He's a guy that you're having to look out for on the power play there. He gets in alone. He's hitting crossbars. Like, he's all the way around it. If he can continue to build this up, I don't know what's going on, if they're going to have to do a piss test on this guy and check for PEDs, but he looked a lot more like Austin Matthews tonight than he even has in the past couple of games or leading up to the Four Nations or whatever it is that you want to look at. Even spurts of time where all of a sudden Austin Matthews scores a couple of goals here and there. This is the most Austin Matthews like he has looked in a while. I thought he looked really good tonight. I thought he was winning physical battles. There were times where he was putting on clinics against Cale Makar, just getting pucks back from him. There was the one opportunity that they had where he carries the puck into the zone. It gets knocked off the stick. He takes it back from Cale Makar. He goes back into the corner and takes it back from Cale Makar again. Then he comes out the side of the net and hits Matthew Knies there. I thought Austin Matthews looked very good here tonight. So kudos to him for getting himself back in the right direction heading into playoffs. We'll see the consistency. We'll see if he can do it when it's the most physical. But again, here tonight, I thought he looked pretty good. Okay. That's where we're at on the most of the game. Those are the big points that I wanted to touch on. Thank you to Gord for calling in. We're going to have to get a couple more things here before we close out the show. That would include grade of the game and play of the game. I just want to quickly, I saw people all over the place here on Marner tonight, jumping up and down on him. I thought he was fine. Not incredible, not knock your socks off, nothing like that. I thought he was fine. It was kind of interesting because I looked at Matthews, I looked at Knies. I thought they were driving that first line mostly. Marner had a couple of good moments, but outside of that, I mean, even looking at like chances generated by him, Austin Matthews finishes with 0.99. Matthew Knies finishes with 1.92 here. Mitch Marner was 0.2. I look at that. I feel like it's one of those games where he should be more involved, especially given his line mates were. I thought he did some good stuff, but otherwise I felt like he kind of just fit into the rest of the game. I'm not going to like knock on him too much here. I'm not going to pump him up too much. I know that may piss off Marner's security guard who's going at Vic on social media right now, just kind of taking runs at him, myself. It's just not hearing us absolutely praise the guy is just going to send Rocket security into an absolute flurry and just drive him up a wall. But regardless, I think Marner was okay. I thought he was fine in this game tonight. People were on either side of the fence of this one. I'm not really going to jump into that and do it too much. I thought he was okay. That's kind of it for me. That's the extent of his play here tonight. Let's get to here now our play of the game. Our play of the game. Play of the game for tonight. I want to see what you guys are at for your play of the game. I want to know what you feel was the biggest moment, of this night. I have a kind of a hard time picking out one specific unreal play. I kind of think for me, the play of the game might go jokingly, if people are already giving this one out to Kelly Sutherland stopping the puck and breaking it up so that Steven Lorentz can go in on the breakaway. But I think play of the game for me is going to go to the Joseph Woll save on Brock Nelson. The decision by McCabe and OEL there was shocking, to say the least, in the moment. I don't know if there was like a predetermined decision. I don't know if Joseph Woll communicated that to them, like, give me this guy. But it was a 3-on-2 on that turnover where Nelson gets the puck. He's kind of the high guy. Both forwards on the Avalanche drive out to the side. McCabe and OEL take both passing options away. And Brock Nelson kind of like looks up and goes, holy shit, how did I get here? How did this happen? And walks down the middle and gets a shot off on Joseph Woll point blank in a game where you are winning by 1 goal. Like, I could not believe that the seas parted like that. I could not believe that opportunity came up for Brock Nelson. The save that Joseph Woll made in that moment was unbelievable. That thing goes tie game. The Leafs are probably on their heels at that point. The barn goes quiet. Colorado's rocking. Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, they're going to shove it down your throats, and it could be game over. Woll keeps it up with a 1-0 or a 1-goal lead. I mean, great timing by Joseph Woll on that save. I'm curious what went into the defenseman opening things up like that. But yeah, Kelly Sutherland also, he could get some kudos for play of the game for blocking that shot out of the clearing attempt by Simone Benoit that Steven Lorentz ends up picking up and going in. Good for him. Good for him. Scoring that goal, can't be mad about it. Keep liking the stream here. We are almost at 100. If we finish it, if we get the 100 likes by the end of the stream, we'll do the smelling salt. So keep smashing the like button. Subscribe here to the channel. Let's get now to our next segment. And our next segment is presented by Greta Bar YYZ. Greta Bar is an amazing spot that we're head out to normally. I mean, on weekends. If I wasn't going to Nashville this weekend, there's a good chance I would be going to Greta Bar YYZ. Great spot before, during, and after the game. Check out the great street food menu and games in the arcade. You know, producer Vic gets his ass kicked at air hockey. My girlfriend loses to me at Connect 4 basketball, which she's not too impressed about. Weekly drink specials at Greta Bar. Greta Bar is the place to be. 590 King Street West. Greta Bar. Let the games begin. Let's close this thing out with our grades of the game. Where are you guys at on this one? We did our play. We did our best bets, all that kind of stuff. Final thing to do here to wrap up and tidy up business is our grade of the game. I think I'm going to go... You know what? Let me just double check something here quickly. I think for tonight's grade, I will go A-. Home game. I thought your first line was really good. I thought your second line was good. I thought your third line was good. Fourth line, not so good. Having to shuffle up and change lines like that is kind of annoying to be doing here. I mean, I guess you're trying to find chemistry, figure out who works best with who works best in what matchup situations. So it's all kind of understandable, but you know, I wish at this point you don't really have to be doing it like that to that extent. You know, we're seeing these lines be thrown into a blender here like crazy, and the most unfortunate part is that it's not like these guys that you're just adding to the team are just the guys you're moving around. Like Scott Lawton, sure, you're trying to find a spot for him, but it's guys who have been here. Like you're breaking up Matthews, Marner, and Nyes 15, 16 games ahead of the playoffs. Tonight here, they stick together. Following up the game against Calgary on Monday, I thought that they played well. I thought that the style of game was tight. It was fun to watch. Like, pretty much everything that went into this was pretty good. The efforts, the defensive hockey, the chances that you gave up versus the chances that you created. Again, I talk about the expected goals. It was a great goaltending night from both sides. You go 1 for 1 on the power play. It's Austin Matthews who scores. Yeah, it's lucky, but it is what it is. Steven Lorentz's goal, it's lucky, but you could also argue that Steven Lorentz going on a breakaway and taking a shot off of his own broken stick is unlucky. So maybe he deserved one. Maybe karma had to come back and bounce his way here. I don't know. Like this is a fun win. It's not something something to make me say, hey, this team is all the way back in it. But it's a fun win regardless, and it's a good win to get you tied back for first in the Atlantic Division with the Florida Panthers. So A- is my official grade. Joseph Woll, also, by the way, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let me wrap up here with a couple of super chats before we finish. Keep hitting that like button. I've got 3, so I want to do these, but let's close out with our super chats for tonight's show. Maxentius, thank you for the super chat. Better D, better goalies, better coach, bad scoring. I would agree with that for the most part. I think scoring, has lacked. But, I mean, the other thing is, think about the scoring that you're looking at of this team. If you look at, I'm genuinely curious, like, look at how many goals this team had last year at this point versus how many goals they have this year at this point, and then just compare how many goals Matthews had last year at this point versus Matthews at this point. Like, I don't know the number. It's something I would be interested in finding out, so maybe I'll do some research on it after the fact. But just to the point, like, maybe a lot of that is just Austin Matthews is not scoring. So, yeah, there's going to be a drop-off. I don't know. I'd be curious to take a look. Another super chat. Another super chat from Maxentius. Thank you again. He says, do a Rosie Hello Pontus impression. I cannot do it as good as Rosie. I'm very much looking forward to hearing him do it in person. My first time ever meeting Rosie in person will be tomorrow, by the way, when we get on the plane to go to Nashville at 8 a.m. Do a Rosie Hello Pontus impression. Well, I won't be able to do it as well. This is going to be a little bit embarrassing for how bad it's going to be, but I think it's something along the lines of like, Hello Pontus. Hello Pontus. Vic could do it as well. I think Vic loves that. But hello Pontus. We'll see. We'll get Rosie doing it this weekend. Another super chat. Super chat here. Final one of the night. We'll wrap this thing up. NDM6. Matthews was a beast. Carlo is fitting in well. I would agree with both statements, NDM6. I thank you for the super chat. I kind of just touched on Matthews there a little bit, but I thought he was great. I thought that he really showed up here tonight. I you need the big boys, especially in games like this. Yeah, he scores the 1 goal. It's a little bit of a fluke, but like, look at the way that he played. Look at everything look at his shifts and the expected goals and the chances generated and the physical battles won and taking over against Cale Makar in certain situations. I thought he was really good. I thought he looked a lot more like himself. He was being physical. He was engaging in plays, all that kind of stuff. I was pretty happy with Matthews' effort and his performance overall here tonight. And again, Brendan Carlo, I would agree. He is fitting in really well. That's all for me on the show here tonight. Keep hitting that like button, subscribe. Subscribe here to the channel. No, Rosie is not in Nashville yet. Rosie is at the airport hotel waiting to leave to go to Nashville tomorrow morning, getting ready to see us idiots. I am very excited about it. I'm excited about this weekend and the trip down in Nashville. Final reminder here as well to people before we close out the show tonight. So tomorrow, this is how it's going to work. There's no Leafs morning take tomorrow. Tomorrow I will have a pregame video that comes out. I will also do a live post-game from Carter Hutton's bar, Love and Exile bar. So you can find everything there. You can watch the show here on the channel. You can watch my show. There will be no Leafs morning take tomorrow. Just remember that. I believe tomorrow, I'm hoping tomorrow at least, the boys will be up for it. Vic, I'm certain will at least jump on for leaving like 2 minutes for the post-game show, but I'm hoping to have some of the boys join in, whether it's Huts, Rosie, Nick, like whatever it may be, but I can't wait to have those guys on. So that's tomorrow. Then we're going to look to Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time, which I believe is 5 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to have Leafs morning take in the afternoon, so Leafs afternoon take. It'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern Time live here on this channel. Then Saturday, we're going to the Preds game, but we'll have a pregame show from myself. We will also have a Leafs Nation After Dark following that game against the Preds on Saturday night. So that's how this weekend is going to go. I appreciate all you guys for subscribing, watching. If you are in Nashville, if you're going to be down there for the Preds game, if you know anybody else who's going to be there, let them know. Shoot us a note. Tweet at us, tag us, whatever. Come say hi. Come to the bar. Come to Hut's bar. Like, if anything else, you're supporting Carter Hutton, even if you don't want to talk to us. I would support Carter Hutton. That guy's unreal. But come support us. Come see us over this weekend. We'll be down in Nashville. That's all for me here on the show tonight. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. This has been game number 68 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Colorado Avalanche in a tight one, 2-1 here tonight, getting themselves back to tied for first in the Atlantic Division, moving to 41, 24, and 13. Thank you all so much for watching, liking, subscribing. I will see you guys back here tomorrow night, that quickly. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.